From the bright lights of New York City straight to your living room, the Octagon takes center stage. V-Chain UFC 322 brings Islam Makhachev versus Jack Del Maddalena in a clash of champions. And DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC, puts every kick, clinch, and finish in the palm of your hand. New customers, turn $5 into $300 instantly if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use the code SONNEN. Stay in on the action and use your bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Love the thrill of live betting? Bet live on star, player props, and in-progress games right as they happen. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. New customers turn $5 into $300 instantly in bonus bets if your pick wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. He didn't want the Tom Aspinall fight, Jon Anik said on his Anik and Florian podcast with Kenny Florian. There was legacy preservation going on. He verbally agreed to a robust number, then went back on his word. He's apologizing and saying he was wrong. Even though I don't see him as a natural heavyweight, and I have a nature to see him, I have a nature to want to see him fight Poatan. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. While it's not Khabib versus Tony for me, it is one of the fights that got away. And I was more intrigued to see Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira. And I think I'm aligned with the big boss there. Wow. Did you guys hear that right? I know I read that a little clumsy. Did you hear that? Jon Anik is saying that he's more interested in Jones versus Pereira. And that he thinks that Dana is too. That's interesting. I wonder where you guys stand. Because now that John's, I think I'm there too. I think that's the fight I want. All right, hold that thought. Let's see what else Jon has to say. This is my first time reading it. Clearly, Jon Jones wants the Alex Pereira fight. He wants it at the White House, Anik said. There are some rumblings. Maybe it wouldn't be on President Trump's birthday, June 14th, I think it is. And it would be at some other point in time. Jon Jones would need the discipline to have a training camp. And obviously the Alex Pereira training camp takes an entirely different tone than a Tom Aspinall training camp. Fair point. Even if Jon believes Aspinall's wrestling and grappling is overrated. All right. Wow. Oh, well. Oh, I wish Jon said a little more. Wow. That's interesting. I love Anik's take on stuff. Anik's take is really interesting because you're getting his opinion, but you constantly have to wonder, did he just slip? Like Anik doesn't have to guess. Anik's an insect. Anik's on the inside. No, there's nobody more on the inside. So he would know. So when he comes and he does these pieces, and I got to play the same game with you guys at times, but not to the level that Anik does, just not as often. Where it's like, okay, what was made public? What is it I can say versus what I need to guess? Okay. I'm saying that because that does make me wonder, what would you rather see? Because I also think I would rather see Pereira. I think Aspinall's got his hands full. I think it's with Ciryl Gane. I think that creates a bit of a problem. Because the last fight I would ever want to see is Ciryl Gane versus Jon Jones. Much rather see Derek Lewis versus Jon Jones. And I don't predict for you could do a large night of business with that. So it's interesting. And now you've got the voice of the Octagon, Jon Anik, saying, I'd rather see Pereira. And Jon is now in a position and has put Dana in a position accidentally. Like when Dana was talking about, hey, I'm not putting Jon on the White House card. Dana didn't have like this open mind It wasn't a matter of, well, what if he fights this guy or fights this guy or fights this guy or fights this guy? It wasn't an open mind because there was only one guy to fight. That's Jon Jones. If he fights, he's fighting for the world title. That's Aspinall. We're all done here. There is no matchmaker meeting. There is nothing to discuss. There is no Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa, just for example. It's Jones versus the heavyweight champion. Who's Tom? Well, that's not the case. That's when Dana spoke about it. That was, but this is a completely unforeseen. That Poatan would want this match. And all of a sudden you don't have a weight discrepancy. You don't even have an age discrepancy. These guys weigh the exact same. These guys were born in the same year. I mean, there's nowhere where you can turn and go, hey, no, that doesn't make sense for... Oh, yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And then you got a position where when you talk about I can't trust Jon, I can't put him on a card. That's small. I can't trust him, I can't put him on a card. No, it's just the I can't trust him. That's the part. So you don't have to trust a guy that's not your champion. So then that's another big question that you have to have. Do I put a belt around a guy that is then going to point the gun back in my face? Do I pay this guy a ton of money and empower him knowing he's going to turn on me? And that's not even possible here. It's not even possible. You'd move him into what? You'd move him into a best case scenario, a number one contender spot. And that's a great spot, but that's not a power. It's very interesting. I mean, do you understand from Dana's perspective? You understand this is a proposition that you have to really look at, and it doesn't fit the criterion of anything else that you played through in your head. No matter how many times Dana has looked at it, you could put Jon Jones against Pereira, and you could not even main event him. You could. You probably would main event him because of what you're paying him, but I mean, that's one thing that's tough about the White House card. It's one thing where I always told you Conor McGregor will not be at the White House because there'd be no belt. You're going to proclaim the world's biggest card isn't for a belt. And you're kind of proclaiming that your belt's not worth that much, right? I mean, do you see the problem? You could do Jones versus Pereira as big as that fight is in a co-spot. You could. And just imagine that. It's the same thing as if you got McGregor and you got him in a co, or you got him 3 from the top. Just imagine how big the card is. Right? Imagine the perception of how big the card is. I'm just sharing with you. This is not what I'm betting or predictions that we're going in, but it is very compelling. And Anik referenced a training camp. He referenced that training camp would be very different against Alex than it would be against Jon. That's interesting. I don't know. I don't think that Jon has enough coaches, enough facilities, or enough workout partners to quite dictate and change that. I don't know. But I get conceptually where Jon is coming from. I get where it would seem that would happen, but I think that I think that circle's pretty small, and you're probably going to have the same guys doing the same thing regardless of the fight. But that's conversation for another day. What is the most interesting fight for Jon Jones? Is it Aspinall? Is it Gane? Or is it Poatan? And it's another thing that you got to consider. You have to consider that. Do you believe that Surreal is going to beat Tom? If you believe the answer to that question is yes, then you got to make Jones and Poatan. The one part that I know that I'm right, that I know that the company agrees, they don't want Jones and Gane again. They're just not going to make that fight. Well, if you think that Gane is going to beat Tom, then you might as well make Jones and Alex. You could wait. You could put Alex in there with Gane, but it still comes back to Jones, and he's just a year older and a year later, but now you're bringing a belt into it, of which he's probably going to win. So if you're going to do that very fight, I think in some ways it makes more sense to not do it for the belt. And that's an interesting conversation. As a matter of fact, I reserve the right to study this a little closer and take back what I just said. But I think that I mean it now, and I think if I was to ask you guys, what's the hardest fight? What's the most interesting fight? For Jon Jones. Is it Tom? Is it Cyril, or is it Pereira? I think that you guys agree with Jon Anik. And I think you agree with me, because I agree with Jon Anik. Jones versus Pereira. And to hell with the White House, I don't know where that comes from. Doesn't need to be there. Fights in the octagon. Get them to the octagon.